When you see that jump, you know that you've reached a particular resonant frequency. It's called a mode, a resonant mode, in this case,
Mhm.
of the sarcophagus. And then you increase the volume, the amplitude of the signal, and then you will see a cymatic pattern emerge. And I did. And what happened was, though, it wasn't the kind of cymatic pattern I had expected. I expected what is very typical with cymatics, circular patterns,
Mhm.
usually very symmetrical, usually very beautiful. If the sound is beautiful, the pattern will be beautiful. And of course, the
Mhm.
converse is also true, Steve. If the
Mm.
sound is ugly, the pattern will be skewed and definitely not symmetrical, right? It will be
Mm.
subjectively ugly. But in this
Mhm.
case, instead of a typical cymatic pattern, up came onto the surface of this membrane a beautiful hieroglyph, an ancient Egyptian hieroglyph, right in the middle of the sarcophagus. And it wasn't static either, by the way. It wasn't like just a static hieroglyph. It was it was like a snake. It was writhing, very dynamic form, and it looked exactly like the ancient Egyptian hieroglyph for the god Osiris. It's called the Djed pillar, D-J-E-D pillar. And when
Mhm.
the when the antiquities inspector saw this, I saw it. I was shocked in that moment. And when he saw it, because he had gone away, well, not out of the chamber, but he was standing up against the north wall, filing his nails actually, and looking a bit bored at this point, having helped me to set it up. He probably thought I was a bit nuts. I don't know. But now he rushed over to where I was standing, and where he could see this hieroglyph. And he said, "How you do that? How you do that?" And I just had to shrug my shoulders. I didn't know. I didn't expect it, but I was
Mm.
really excited in that moment. And then he
Mm.
was he then wanted to help. He'd been bored before, obviously, but now he's like, "How can I help you? What can I do?"
Mm.
He was interested now to see what I was doing. So we worked as a little team, and I had taken a brush and a little shovel to brush the sand off, and then we would sprinkle on fresh sand, and then change the frequency a little bit, and another hieroglyph emerged, and another, and another. So many different hieroglyphs that day emerged on the membrane. The antiquities inspector, he was so excited, and I was so excited. Obviously, I mean, anyone would be under those circumstances. And
Mhm.
then the amazing thing happened about 20 minutes into this experiment, this wonderful experiment. I suddenly realized that there was no pain in my lower back. This excruciating pain that I'd had for 3 weeks had
Mhm.
just vanished, just gone, basically vanished. And
Huh.
so, in the moment when this happened, Steve, I still have the very clear memory of my thought process in that moment. And it was that, I know what this is. These are endorphins flowing in my bloodstream. These are natural opioids that the
Mhm.
brain the brain creates for you if you have a peak experience, right? Whatever it is. In this case, seeing hieroglyphs, emerge surprisingly, amazingly, and that
Mhm.
was a peak experience for me. And so I have no doubt that my bloodstream was flowing with endorphins. And endorphins have this twofold effect. One is to give you a feeling of euphoria. You feel really wonderful, right? And
Mhm.
then the other aspect is pain mediation. When you have lots of opioids flowing in your bloodstream, then pain is largely banished. And in this case, I felt none at all, no pain, zero pain. So I couldn't focus to think any more about that in that moment because I was so focused on the experiment. But what I did think was, oh, okay, I know this will the pain will come back with a vengeance when I get back to the hotel.
Yeah.
This and the endorphins wear off. I'm going to
Okay.
get this, pain back. But it never came back, Steve. That pain
Uh,
never
so
returned. And so there had been a real healing that day when no amount of analgesics had been able to mediate the pain. I'd been to a physiotherapist on 2 occasions. That hadn't really helped much at all either. So I was, really amazed by this effect.